There's something deeply wrong with this constant chase for more. More success, more beauty, more followers, more stuff. The promise is fulfillment. But the actual result? An emptiness that only grows. You feel like you're running, striving, trying so hard to become someone. But deep down, it's like you never actually arrive. And the cruelest part? You're not alone. Society has learned to applaud excess and silence what's already enough. The result? An epidemic of chronic dissatisfaction, disguised as ambition. But what if I told you there's a way out of this endless race? That it's actually possible to feel peace, emotional well-being, and real joy without comparing yourself to other people's highlight reels on Instagram? And more than that, the answer is already inside you, just waiting for the right nudge to come to life. Nope, it's not magic. It's science. It's strategy. And above all, it's consciousness. What you're about to discover here isn't just another promise or miracle solution. It's an invitation to reprogram the way you see life. And it all starts with one simple but powerful gesture. Some people look at life like a full plate and still feel hungry. That's the phenomenon of chronic dissatisfaction, a lingering sense that nothing is ever enough. Not the job, not the body, not the relationships. And things get even worse when social comparison enters the scene. Social media has become a showroom of edited happiness, where every like seems to validate someone else's self-image and quietly invalidate our own. The result? A silent cycle of self-pressure, perfectly disguised as normal. Psychology has already mapped out this pattern. We live hyper-connected, but emotionally drained. When the brain is constantly bombarded with images of other people's success, beauty, and perfection, it begins to treat those visuals as the standard for life. What was meant to inspire starts to frustrate. And the worst part? We don't even realize it. One simple scroll can trigger deep emotional wounds, reinforcing mental health struggles, born from unfair comparisons with the unattainable. And the more you consume, the less enough you feel. That's when emotional well-being goes down the drain, and emptiness replaces gratitude. Because let's be honest, how do you appreciate your own journey when everyone else seems miles ahead? But maybe the real secret isn't in what you're missing, but in what you haven't yet realized you already have. And right at that breaking point, where everything seems to fall apart, that's exactly where science steps in, to shine a light on what truly makes us flourish. Happiness isn't some random soap bubble that floats into your life and pops without warning. It's much more like a muscle. And like any muscle, it needs to be trained. That's exactly what positive psychology set out to explore. Instead of focusing only on mental illness, why not study what actually works in people's lives? That's where research began showing that emotional well-being can be cultivated, not with magic formulas, but with simple, consistent habits. Then came cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which took things a step further, revealing how our thoughts shape our emotions. Like when someone believes they're a failure, just because they don't have their dream job yet. That's likely a distorted automatic thought. And CBT teaches us how to reframe those interpretations. It's like switching out a foggy lens of social comparison for a clearer view of your own reality. And over time, that changes everything. Your self-esteem, your decisions, even how you experience social relationships. The wildest part? This isn't just theory, it's applied neuroscience. With each reframed thought, you're literally carving new neural pathways in your brain. And that directly influences how you experience sustainable happiness. But what if I told you there's one habit that amplifies all of these effects, regulates your mood, strengthens social bonds, and improves both your physical and mental health? Spoiler, it has nothing to do with money or success. It has to do with something much simpler. Gratitude is like that seasoning you underestimate until you realize something's missing. And no, this isn't some feel-good self-help fluff. This is gratitude neuroscience. Studies show that people who actively practice gratitude have higher levels of emotional well-being, sleep better, experience fewer emotional disorders, and cope more healthily with losses and frustrations. It's as if gratitude acts as an invisible antidote to the chronic dissatisfaction that quietly eats away at so many people from the inside. When you practice gratitude with intention, something shifts. Envy starts to lose its grip. Narcissism takes a backseat. And even materialism, this exhausting addiction to always wanting more, starts to seem kind of ridiculous. Want a simple place to start? Try keeping a gratitude journal. Every day, write down at least 3 things that made you feel good, even if they seem small. That perfect cup of coffee, a thoughtful message, a random good morning that hit just right. It might seem minor, but it builds something major. Here's the truth. Grateful people attract better people, more genuine friendships, lighter relationships, stronger, more lasting social bonds. It's not magic. It's what science calls evolutionary reciprocity. Gratitude creates a kind of energy that transforms how we connect and slowly starts to untangle the knots. That social comparison has been tightening for years. But what's most fascinating is understanding why we feel gratitude in the first place. Because that goes way, way back, long before the digital age. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good emotion we cultivate to seem like better people. It's hardwired into our evolutionary code, like an app that comes pre-installed for the factory. Our ancestors needed to trust each other to survive. Gratitude was a smart social tool, a way to strengthen bonds, encourage mutual help, and keep the tribe united. In other words, being grateful increased your odds of staying alive. And here's where it gets fascinating. Evolutionary reciprocity explains why gratitude is so powerful in relationships. When someone does something kind for you, your brain logs it as a kind of positive emotional debt. And without even realizing it, you're more likely to want to give back. That creates a loop of cooperation that benefits everyone involved. It's the ancestral version of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but written into our neural circuitry. Even modern studies back this up. Couples who regularly express gratitude report significantly higher relationship satisfaction. Now, think about this. If gratitude was essential for keeping our species alive, does it really make sense to ignore it now? Just because we're too busy comparing our lives to someone else's highlight reel? Maybe it's time to reconnect with this ancient tool for emotional well-being. Because gratitude doesn't just help us survive, it can help us stay emotionally whole. And what happens inside the brain when that gratitude switch flips feels almost like magic. When gratitude steps in, the brain reacts like it just won a prize. Literally, reward-related areas like the prefrontal cortex and the nucleus accumbens light up, the same regions activated when you get a compliment, hear your favorite song, or fall in love. It's not an exaggeration to say that the neuroscience of gratitude reveals it as a powerful mood modulator. And more than that, it's been shown to ease symptoms of depression, reduce anxiety, and even help with emotional dependency. Why? Because when you train your brain to focus on small victories, instead of endlessly comparing yourself to what you still lack, you build emotional resilience. People who actively cultivate gratitude show greater capacity to overcome trauma, navigate loss, and start over with more lightness. And it's not just in the mind. The effects show up in the body too. Improved sleep, reduced inflammation, and even a stronger immune system. In short, gratitude isn't just a feel-good feeling. It's a self-improvement strategy. And you know that vicious cycle of sadness, guilt, and rumination that traps you? Gratitude can be the rope that pulls you out. Of course, it doesn't replace cognitive behavioral therapy, but it's an incredible complementary tool. In fact, many therapists now integrate gratitude exercises into treatments, especially when working with complex emotional disorders. And speaking of exercises, there's one practice that's simple, quick, and shockingly powerful that can show you exactly how gratitude works in real life. Let's talk practice. Gratitude isn't just about feeling something nice. It's about doing something with intention. One of the most effective exercises? The gratitude journal. Grab a notebook or just use your phone's notes app and write down 5 to 10 things you're grateful for, once to 3 times a week. And no, they don't have to be grand. It could be someone's smile, the smell of coffee, or just the fact that you got out of bed on a hard day. Science has already confirmed it. This repeated practice starts to reconfigure your brain activity. Over time, it literally changes the way you perceive life. People who commit to it report higher motivation, more optimism, and less stress. Want to take it up a notch? Write down why you're grateful for each thing. This deepens the emotional connection to the moment and reinforces positive emotional learning. It's simple, but it works like strength training for your emotional well-being. And if writing's not your thing, there are other ways to practice gratitude too. Send a sincere message to someone. Create a gratitude wall at home. Go on a mindful walk and notice the small beauties around you. The key is be intentional. And over time, what starts as just an exercise begins to shift the way you relate to the world. Because when gratitude becomes a habit, the way you see your own story begins to transform too. And sometimes, that's the beginning of a journey you'll never want to turn back from. Cultivating gratitude won't turn your life into a picture-perfect commercial. And that's okay. It's not about forcing constant positivity. It's about creating inner space to recognize what's still alive inside you. Even on the darkest days, the gratitude journey is personal, unique, and often quiet. Some days, you'll give thanks with a smile. Other days, you'll barely manage to write it down, with tears in your eyes. But the important part is, keep going, because gratitude, before anything else, is a choice. And that choice starts small. You wake up, and instead of diving into social media and slipping into the trap of comparison, you take a breath and think of one good thing from yesterday. Just one. It might feel insignificant, but that's where the power lives. It's one small step at a time, toward a happiness that's sustainable, built not on the absence of problems, but on the presence of awareness. There's a name for that: daily self-improvement. No rush, no perfection. Those who live this practice understand. Gratitude isn't a magic formula, but it transforms everything it touches. Relationships become more gentle. Your mood becomes more stable. Your thoughts become less frantic. And the best part? Life stops feeling like a checklist of demands and starts to feel like a constant opportunity for connection with others, with the present moment, with yourself. And when you really get that, you start to see that maybe you were never missing as much as you thought. Now tell me, how much longer are you going to run this marathon with no finish line? How much more time will you let social comparison define your self-worth? How long will you keep believing that just a little more will finally be enough? Maybe it's time to flip the script, to turn gratitude into practice, emotional well-being into a priority, and self-improvement into a way of life. Because it's not about having everything. It's about feeling everything with presence. What if you could start redesigning your routine right now? What would it look like to begin your day by recognizing your small victories? Instead of rushing to check someone else's feed, have you ever thought about the kind of life you'd build if you replaced self-pressure with inner kindness? What's really stopping you from doing that today? Believe this. Sustainable happiness isn't far away. It's just buried under the noise you've been taught to normalize. If this made you see things differently, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. You won't find magic formulas here, but you will find tools to rebuild your life with truth, awareness, and depth. So, are we doing this together?